Let's talk about the Brinyte PT16A tactical flashlight. Guys, I gotta tell you, testing and reviewing this flashlight was a little bit of a roller coaster ride for me. Had some massive highs, a few lows. Overall, I think I'll give it my rating at the end, so stay tuned for that. My rating on a scale of 1 to 10 with all of the things in consideration. But what you get is this package. When you open it up, you're going to find the usual goodies, a spare lanyard or a lanyard, spare O-rings. By the way, in all my history of using flashlights, I've never needed spare O-rings, but I tell you, if you rip one and you need one, that's probably going to be really important. The manual itself, thank you card with a warranty registration, product catalog for Brinyte. They have some other flashlights as well that you may or may not be interested in. The light itself, and by the way, it has a little insulator inside that goes between the battery and the contact, so you're going to have to remove that before you use the flashlight or charge the flashlight for the first time, because obviously if that insulator's in place it won't work. It's there to keep the light from coming on in the box or in transit, which I think is smart. Anyways, reasonable packaging, nothing crazy. It is suitable for its purpose. The light itself, I'll put the dimensions and stats somewhere, but it's not a little boy. It is a good size light. I think mostly suitable for, say, a belt or clipped to armor. And there are things about the form factor that I like. It does have a little carbide, little glass breaker tips on the end, side switch, two tail switches, which I do actually like the user interface quite a bit. This little ring here, which is removable if you don't like it, but I actually prefer lights like this because you can put this in your support hand and you can, while holding something else in your hand, you can utilize this light together with it and be able to turn it on and off properly. I don't hate that, but if it's too much for you and you really don't like it, you can just unscrew the tail cap and you can just slide it right off like so. Put the tail cap back on and you're running a little bit slicker if you prefer that. Now, one more thing about this tail cap, guys, is it does actually help retain the pocket clip. Now, the pocket clip will stay in place without this, but it can be popped off. Now, if you don't want that to pop off, then this piece right here, I suppose, is probably non-optional for you unless you want to wrap a zip tie around it. So, and it's like I said, if you change your mind one way or the other, you're like, oh, well, I really like that. I could certainly put it back on, no problem. Oh, by the way, standard 5,000 milliamp, 21700 battery, which a lot of the newer lights are using these days. So not a non-standard battery, and it is removable. I know some people are really all about, hey, if I can't replace that battery or recharge that battery separate from the flashlight, I don't want it, but they've got you in that regard if you really want a removable or replaceable battery so that you can either carry spares, or in the event that that battery does decide to give out on you, neither here nor there. Now, it does come with the provision for USB-C charging right here under a flap, so you don't have to remove the battery to charge it, and you get some level of water resistance or debris protection with that flap. And it does tend to stay down. I've had some that kind of get really flappy on me. This has not done that. Oh, I will say that if you want to use the lanyard, you've got a couple of choices. You can put it through the tail cap here in this hole, or you could put it through this hole on the ring itself. Like I said, you have options. Now, let's talk about the light and the modes. First, let me talk about the switching. The manual itself, by the way, is relatively comprehensive for what it is, and it's not the multi-language 2 million different manuals all on the same piece of paper. Now, if you are like me and you're starting to get old creaky eyes, you will see that the text is somewhat small, but it's not the end of the world. You can either get the PDF of it online, or you can break out your old individual reading glasses, which I sometimes do. Max lumens claim on this is 3,000. Now, it is bright, but I never saw that 3,000 lumens during my testing. I did see 2,200. that was a low. Remember when I said I had my roller coaster going? But on the upside, the max intensity, the Candela, was claimed at 52,000. And when I measured it, I saw over 80,000 Candela, guys. So while it didn't meet that raw output numbers in terms of max intensity, max brightness at distance, this thing crushes. Like, it really goes a long way to kind of, you know, making up for what I saw as perhaps a slight misstatement of the output. And now, as always, take my measurements with a grain of salt, because I'm using a styrofoam cooler to test lumen output. And so you've got to understand that, you know, this is not an ANSI level testing equipment, and I am not an ANSI level testing facility. So also on the operation instructions, I do appreciate what you've got here, which is kind of a flow chart, so that it's a lot easier to kind of understand what's going on. What I really do like about this is with the tail switching, this button has one mode, and when you click it, it goes to turbo, the max output. If you want to reduce that light, you can use the other switch to go through different modes. But if I turn it off and then turn it back on, it goes straight back to turbo, which is what I want. In a tactical flashlight, this switch needs to be all the light right now, and they have certainly accomplished that. So, you know, to Brinyte, I got to give it to them. I like their switching a lot. The side switch is not needed unless you want it. So you could literally use this as a tactical light and never touch the side switch. So you're not going to have to, oh, where is it? I don't know. You don't have to worry about that. Now, when you've got the main switch off, if you click this, it's going to go into those same modes. And if you hold it down, it's going to turn off. Or if you have everything off and you long press it, it's just going to go straight to the low mode. So if you need to kind of, you know, sneak around, or maybe you don't want to wake people up or create a huge visual signature, you can get to the low mode directly from the side switch, and that's pretty cool. And I think same thing, if you hold it again, it'll turn it off. If you are in this mode and you double click, you get the epilepsy. And then if you, I think, double click again, you can go into the, I think it's SOS. You know, you have all those modes, and I don't really mess with those extra modes a lot. But if you want the additional lighting modes of strobe, SOS, things like that, then this is useful to you perhaps. So, and also when the main tail switch is on, you have other modes. Let me turn this off again. There, okay. So when the main tail switch is on, if you double click this, you get strobe. If you double click it again, you get SOS. One click goes back to where it was. But it's not. This is not the switch that I'm going to use. Like I said, for me, this is 100% my jam on this light. Now, it will stand on its front or bezel. At least for me, I could never get it to tail stand owing to the angle of the little guards over this switch. In addition, I should mention, by the way, that this was definitely a sample sent to me by Brinyte. If you look, it says actually sample, not for sale. Interesting, I rarely see that on samples that I get sent. Here's the upsides to this thing, guys. Bright. In terms of Candela, it's as bright as anything I've tested. In terms of lumens, no, but in terms of the like distance at output, and I'll show you beam shots, you'll see it. Man, it crushes on that. The indicator here, the battery indicator, useful, but at times I found that it was like still on. Like I'd leave the light off and I'd come back and look and there was still a little green indicator there. That may be turn offable in the modes. I wasn't able to locate how to do that. If you manage to do that, you can certainly let me know. Here's the highs. Mad Candela output. Mad Candela output. I like the form factor. I like the ring. I like the tail switch. I like the switching. I think they've hit it out of the park on that. The glass breakers I didn't find to be so pointy and nasty that it would tear up my gear or my pockets. So if you need something like that on a light, they got you. Like I said, this is a good duty size tactical light. The lows. Like I said, it didn't quite make outputs in terms of lumens, and I think I get an occasional battery drain or siphon from that. So if I were going to store this long term, guys, I think I'd pop the battery out or I'd put the insulator back in. If I were you, I would make sure that I had it charged. Notice that when you first turn it on, this side indicator, and it's, I don't know if you can see it, it's green right now, that tells you it's fully charged. it gives you that indicator for just a little bit and then it goes away. So you'll always know your battery status when you turn on the light, and that is super useful, I think. You know, in general, guys, not a bad light at all. Stand by for the beam shots. Okay, the Brinyte PT16A indoor beam shots. I'm gonna go from the top down. Since this is a tactical light, I really wanna show you it at its highest setting and then move down from there. So if I just hit the tail switch, this is turbo, and as you can see, it's a super bright light. We got 4 yards there, 10 yards there. And then if I use the tail switch that adjusts, we go, I'm sorry, let's see, the lowest, and then I go up to a medium, and then high, highest, and then low again. So super bright. There is a moonlight mode in here, but I'll tell you, it really is kind of difficult for me to get to. And it's not doing it right now, but occasionally the green light just stays on the tail switch. There we go, the side switch. So if I hold it down, I'll get the lowest setting again. It is the side switch that does that, and you can see I'm kind of low on the batteries right now from the flashing red light. So it is super bright in its highest modes. It is kind of a pain in the butt if you want to use it for an admin flashlight. It is not great for that, but for raw output, it's not bad. Let's go check out some outdoor stuff. The Brinyte, and I don't know if you can see the green light. This is that parasitic draw thing I was talking about. Like literally it's just not on, it's just showing that light. But here we go to turbo, and it's gonna be blasty. You get a lot of distance. And then if we go to the lowest, difficult to see, then the next. So it's, like I said, this is a distance light. It's not really made for admin stuff, and I don't think that's its forte, but if you just want a lot of light, you can definitely get it with the Brinyte. Let's take a look at the further distances. The Brinyte, when I put it on turbo at this distance, you know, I've got stuff 180 yards out there. It is giving me that no problem. And then if I go to the lower modes, you know, here's the lowest, then the medium, then high, then turbo. No problem at all getting this kind of distance. You know, if this light has a forte, it is really distance work. I think it's really cut out for that. I think for admin stuff, probably not my jam, but you know, for longer range work, man, the Brinyte really shines. I know that that's a pun. I'm sorry, I apologize. Sometimes I cannot help myself. Okay, so let's talk about the Brinyte PT16A. The good, the bad, the indifferent. One, the output in terms of Candela, it's as high as any flashlight I have ever tested at any price point. When you start talking 83,000 Candela, you've got real reach out and touch somebody distance, and I appreciate that a lot. Two, I like the overall form factor with the ring, so it allows me to do some interesting holds with the flashlight and a little bit firmer grip than I can get with some other flashlights. And I, in addition, like how this ring helps to retain the pocket clip so that it will not spontaneously depart the body. That is something that I see notably missing from a lot of flashlights out there. And so I really like that. I like the tail switching where you have the master switch and then you've got a sub switch that allows you to either step down the output or directly access strobe. I think these are brilliant touches. Obviously, I like the little carbide glass breakers on the bezel and having the crenellated bezel so that if it is standing on its head, you can see if the light's on so you know that, hey, that light's still on, I need to turn it off. Overall, I think big wins when it comes to that. Now, when it comes to the things that I'm less happy about, I don't like the functionality of the side switch on this light, which seems to be hit or miss in terms of whether it wants to work or not for me. If I actuate the tail switch and then use the side switch, it seems to work. But a lot of times, the side switch seems to just be kind of locked out, and if there is a way to get in and out of that lockout, it wasn't readily apparent to me in the documentation. If you've read the documentation, you're like, oh, hey, you're a moron, you do it this way. That's entirely possible. Guys, let me know, like hit me in the comments or whatever. But like right now, see, I'm holding it and I'm not getting the moonlight, like, or clicking it. Ah, there we go. So I think it's in lockout right now. Like I said, there's a way to get in and out of lockout. If I turn on the main switch and then I hit the side switch, now the side switch works for me. So like I said, how to get in and out of that lockout mode, I don't know. Like I said, it's probably in the documentation, I just missed it. And if so, I apologize, guys. That's one thing. But that side switch aside, half the time the little green indicator on the side switch just seems to be on. And while I don't think that's using a ton of battery, I do believe there is some parasitic drain there, which means that you're probably not going to want to store this long term with the battery in it. I think I would probably unscrew the tail cap if I were going to let this thing sit. And I'd probably be pretty wary about making sure that I had this thing charged if I was going to use it for work. Now that said, I think it's a good work light in terms of tactical use. I don't think it's a good admin size light, and it's just a little bit too big form factory for an admin style light. So take the awesome pluses that it has, take those warts, make your decision thusly. They usually have a bunch of coupon codes to make this light price pretty palatable. I've included those in all the places that you know to look for coupon codes. So you can definitely get this light at below MSRP if you are so willing. I think that Brinyte might have some really good products in their future. I think this one's probably somewhere in the 80th percentile, like it, but with caveats. So that's the general thought about the Brinyte PT16A. Solid light, yes. Incredible light, negative, but a good light for what it is. Guys, I'll end this here. I hope that you've enjoyed this content as always. And if you have any feedback for me one way or the other, hit me in the comments, let me know. All the YouTube stuff that I would like, that'll make me feel better. It's not gonna make me a multimillionaire, but it'll make me feel better about myself if you wanna hit the like and subscribe. Notification bell gets you immediate notification of whenever I post a new video so you won't miss out. Guys, I'll end this here. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, stay safe. I'll talk to you soon.
Get 'em, Jay.